But I will say, just having T-Hawk when there was 4 new challengers available, he probably would have wanted to have advertised all of them. And he's just kind of laying there in the desert, I guess, or on the surface of the sun. You okay there, Hawkster? Hey yo, it's me, mattmcmuscles, and welcome back to the Flophouse, where our lifestyle always determines our death style. And speaking of deaths, Nintendo Power, yeah, long-running institution. I actually forget when it died, 2017, something like that. Anyway, I thought it would be fun with the Nintendo Switch 2, kind of out there and dominating sales charts and such, that we look back at the history of Nintendo Power a little bit. When I say history, I mean the covers that I thought were super hype and maybe a little weird. First up, the classic, issue 1. Listen, they went for something here, right? It's all clay. There was definitely some work put into this, and I totally get it. Who thought Mario was this color? Who thought he's not even close to that in Mario 2 or Doki Doki Panic. Whatever, at least there's a free poster inside. I will say that his face seems like it has sort of evolved into the YouTube poops and weird cartoons you would see like in the decades to come later on the internet. There's just this manic energy about this Mario that's a little disturbing. But look, it's clean. All the text is there. You know exactly what you're getting here. And if you hadn't played the game before, you'd be like, wow, does it look like this? No, as we know, lots of early issues in Nintendo Power and many other magazines, since official art was never really high res at this time, they had to, kind of think on their feet and outside the box and what visuals to deliver. And this is probably the best example. Speaking of, we don't have a lot of art laying around, this is for Batman, the NES game. Sick-ass game, but you couldn't really tell by this. What is this? What is happening in this scene? Okay, I can only think this is like the Ace Chemical scene where Batman's standing on the catwalk. Yeah, on the catwalk, he shakes his little tush, but it's just so much steam. And Joker's got his back to him and he's already the Joker. Are they in Silent Hill? I don't know. You think about how awesome that NES Batman game looked, its sprite style and everything, and just a big Batman logo from the movie could have done it as well. That would have been better served than this. I don't know what's going on here. Man, the lighting is bright on Joker. Again, though, information, nice, concise, clear, and that will be something that changes in future issues of Nintendo Power. I can tell you that for free. Alright, when I think of Ninja Gaiden, I don't think of exactly this, waterfront city, then after that, thousands of miles of jungle, and then that castle was in the game. But who is that? Is that Ryu Hayabusa? No, that's Jim. That's Jim Ninja. Again, I would like to think you could have at least gotten an Asian person to dress up as Ryu Hayabusa. If you're gonna, maybe they just had a stock photo lying around. Is this guy left over from the last Ninja game? Like the NES game? Maybe. But yeah, they definitely dropped the ball here. I will say this would look really nice spray painted on the side of a van. But other than that, there's not much to say about it. Of course, you can't really talk about Nintendo Power covers without talking about this one for Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. Probably the hypest thing to come out of Simon's Quest. I don't know why they kind of thought that Simon was like almost a Roman centurion. Look at the chest plate. You kind of see an eagle there and the helmets. I know it's hard to really discern the sprite there. And obviously this is from an old magazine scan, so you can't see some of the details and everything. But it's an evocative image. He went to a Spirit of Halloween, or the 1987 equivalent, and got a Dracula head. And as the AVGN told us, there was probably lots of angry parents kind of calling up Nintendo and saying, "What the hell is this devilry? What is going on with this cover that my little Timmy just purchased?" But yeah, we'll say it's kind of a shocking image. Look, there's like all of Dracula's bits. I didn't even notice this until now. There's the eyeball, and Simon processes them all. I guess that's his heart or his lungs. That's like a tooth. That's pretty cool. Someone understood the fucking assignment here. I can absolutely see the vision. Again, this doesn't really strike me as Simon Belmonte, but he does have a whip, so I gotta give him to him. I think this is an absolutely hype early Nintendo Power cover. Like, when you think of ones where they absolutely nailed it, Simon's Quest. I know it's weird to say, but they did it. Now, Power Blade, everyone knows, sick-ass game. Who's that? That's just RoboCop? That's not the guy from Power Blade at all. It's just a dude in a vest and sunglasses. I don't know what they're thinking there. I do like the color scheme. It's very 1994 SummerSlam. I like the yellow and no, it's very Crush, brah. It's very Crush from early new gen WWF. So that's pretty cool, but it's not really giving me that particular game. Like, you can see sort of the stage background from some level in Power Blade. That's cool. But other than that, it's not really doing the game a good service here and trying to sell it to you. Again, though, the information is all there. You can read it. And as we go into the 90s, specifically the mid to late 90s, Nintendo would go a little overboard with how they overlaid the information on their covers. Not there yet, though, but we are at Street Fighter 2. This is a concerning picture of Vega. I mean, Claw. This just looks like we have a really buff child cosplaying as Vega. I feel like they didn't really get the memo of what exactly this character's proportions were, but it's a little weird. You know what's even weirder than this? This will be one of only 3 covers ever that had Street Fighter 2 prominently displayed as the main image. Of any Street Fighter, really. Nothing else after that I could find. You just try to Google Nintendo Power Street Fighter, and there's only 3 images that I was able to find. But yeah, this is at least a fully drawn illustration. I'll give it that. But there's lots of weird shit going on with his anatomy here. Lots of it. Big ups for the background, though. Vega's stage. That's pretty cool that they got that in there. But other than that, it's just a really off-putting, you'd think in your head, oh, I've seen every single visual of that game series you really like. I've never seen this before until today. This is not a cover that strikes me as familiar at all. But then again, I only started getting Nintendo Power around 95, and I think this predates it by a couple of years. But yeah, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, fast new fighting, that's great. Hey, a special feature on Alien 3, fantastic. You can see that they're getting a little bit more fancy with the fonts and the info. Before it was like bulletin points, and now it's just kind of like bam, it's just there. But even though it's kind of a very off-putting, slightly uncomfortable image of a Street Fighter 2 character, I just have to at least give it for them into graduating into actual full-on illustration. So good job there, Nintendo Power. Okay, here's our second Street Fighter. We just have Guile falling, because there is no other action that he's doing. It might look like he's kicking, but no, he is falling on his ass right onto this crate. In fact, that looks pretty bad. That looks like you're gonna get a splinter in the you know what there. It's hair-raising action. Get it? Yeah. This is really bland. This is definitely worse than the Vega one because the anatomy is still really off, but it's just boring. Like, they couldn't get the jet from Guile's stage back there. It's just like an empty airstrip. And there's nothing else going on. Like, he's not even fighting anybody. Could they not have gotten Guile, like, flash kicking somebody in the chin or something? That would have been a lot better, but this is probably the worst of the Street Fighter triptych that Nintendo Power had going on. I think it's overall the worst image. You know, Guile's not even looking at, he's not even looking at us. He just feels so embarrassed that he's on here, and I don't blame him. And here's our final one. It's for Super Street Fighter 2. It's definitely the best drawing of the three, but I will say, just having T-Hawk when there was 4 new challengers available, he probably would have wanted to have advertised all of them, and he's just kind of laying there in the desert, I guess, or on the surface of the sun. You okay there, Hawkster? Anyway, it's nice you can see some details you otherwise miss, like his little belt buckle there. That's very nice. Other than that, it's a fine image. He's rendered much in the same style that he was in artwork and stuff of the time. So that's nice. And we can see we're still having the big fonts, but not a whole lot of info on here. Super Street Fighter 2, New Fighters on the Streets, and Play It Loud hit previews. Oh, Play It Loud campaign. Nintendo needs to bring that back. You should always play your games at maximum volume. Anyway, I still think it's bizarre, out of the entire history of this magazine, something like 30 years or whatever, that they only had Street Fighter on the cover as the main cover art 3 times, and it was these 3 particular images. That's kind of sad, I have to say. Next up, we have Vice Project 2. I don't know what they were thinking with this. This is a background from the game. This looks like an overly rendered image of the main hero, and we're looking at him through binocs. This is not some, like, if you know Vice Project Doom, that's a sick-ass game. You're doing lots of different stuff. There's platforming and action and shooting and vehicle sections. This is not making, this makes it look like it's a bird watching game, but you're watching this dude go up a ladder. You're just watching him snake eater up there. It's a really weird choice. I will say that the color scheme is kind of nice, but that's about it. Probably one of the more bizarre covers in that has very little to do with the actual game. I'd say even the Power Blade one was better, but let me know what you think. This dragon's not having a good time. Griffin? Oh, his eyes are glassy. He's not in this world anymore. He's just gone. I will say this is very nicely rendered. Look at all the detail on his scaly paws, and then it going to kind of the feathers there, and all the trees. It's very impressive, actually. And Secret of Mana, obviously, you know, super goated, for sure. The Super NES Jurassic Park, just on a leaf, I guess. I guess that goes with the color scheme of the dragon. Not so much the leaf is coming from these green trees, so that's a little off. But still, it's a nice image. It's, again, could we not have gotten like a hero character somewhere and maybe have the dragon a bit more in the background or something? It's just the central focus. It's a little much, but then again, I haven't played Secret of Mana in a long time, so let me know if that's accurate or not. But it, you know, the tongue's kind of wagging out. Again, it kind of feels like this dragon is maybe passing on before our eyes, and that's a little depressing. This Mario, I feel like he's being caught doing something lewd, and he's looking behind and he's also concerned. That maybe he's, I don't know, painting some hentai, doing some animations in that vein. I'm not really sure. Here we have a Super Nintendo mouse, not very prominent, already has a logo over it, so you'd think he's just standing on anything. If they're gonna have a Super Nintendo mouse, it's gotta be there, it's gotta be right in the center, it's gotta have Uncle Derek's face on it, you know? I guess it's really hard to sell what Mario Paint would be about at the time. Just, judging by a cover, but they have the artwork in the back. They have the, paintbrush and musical notes. So they're trying their best, but still it's kind of a weird image of Mario. It almost seems like it's like an illegal image of Mario, like it's bootleg. Like it doesn't feel quite like him yet. Like it'd be like one of those like Calvin and Hobbes pictures where he's peeing on stuff that you'd see on t-shirts back in the day. But yeah, it's probably one of the last Mario covers that looks like this, because then I think they decided we maybe need to show our main mascot in a better light than these weird little figurines, these Hummel figurines of Mario. Gotta have the toads here. Really weird looking toads. Rash's glasses are super like black sunglasses. Like you don't see his eyeballs, and now we can see why we don't. This pasted on smile, he's so shiny. Like he has lathered himself in baby oil or toad slime. I don't know. Anyway, for it being Battletoads and Double Dragon, this is fairly late into the 16-bit. Not late, but like 92, I want to say, maybe even 93. I'm trying to remember the time frame on that, but yeah, at least I have the background from the game, and just gotta put one lead brother awkwardly doing a jig. That's weird. Like imagine if we had like this really like bone crunching cover where the Battletoads and Billy and Jimmy Lee were like back to back, like crushing enemies or something. Hell, even the main box art of the game is super hype. Why couldn't they have used that? Maybe Nintendo Power needed to like clear it with the publishers and they had to make their own thing, but this was their own thing. And this would not sell me on Battletoads and Double Dragon, right? It's very unhype, actually. It's just, but if you're into feet, maybe save this for your OnlyFans there. I don't know, Rash, I'm just saying, you're just giving it away for free, and I would not do that if I were you. What the hell is, alright, so going back in time a little bit, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. There's a Blockbuster review. That's nice. I guess this is supposed to be Link just creepily watching brunette Zelda, just sleeping away. I think this is one of those things where they got a bunch of actors together and just maybe on a erotic film set, I'm not sure, something from an old Roman movie, and just took one screenshot, one photo, and then started doing like early Photoshop manipulations or something, whatever they could do, weird photo effects and such. I do like this pot here, that's nice and central, but again, they seem to have this weird thing where characters would like not always be looking, because if you actually looked at their faces or they were looking at you, you'd be like, I don't think that's Link. That's not what I think Link looks like in my head. So yeah, just if you have their back towards the viewer, you're never gonna know. And you have like her huge bouffant of hair over her face. Yeah, maybe that's Zelda. I'm not sure. Legend of Zelda had definitely some highs and lows in covers. I remember the first one for Ocarina of Time, which I don't think I have here because there's not much to say about it. But it's just cool. It's just a big zoom up on Link's official art, and then you have the cool owl, because owls are cool, for Link to the Past. But yeah, this one is not bad, I would say, and it's a little more erotically charged than a couple of the other ones. It is nicely put together, I suppose, but it is hard to see what's going on in the background here. But maybe that's by design. Hell yeah! Yo, you love this. This is a kick-ass drawing of Simon Belmont. Simon's monstrous new quest. Oh, I'm sure it is. They over-designed the helmet a little bit. I don't think it's got these like parts that come down. He just has like kind of little headband thing, so that's a little minor issue. But still, it's a pretty exciting pose, very dynamic. It'd be cool if you'd been like kicking like a vampire's head off or something to go in line with the last Castlevania game, or the second, Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest. But that's pretty cool. And it's really hype. Like the lighting on his arm, the rim lighting as it were. That's pretty cool. The background gets a little lost there. It's just you can barely see that it's just some stonework and everything. But it's still really cool. I love the chain is going over the logo. You know, you can read it. It's totally fine. But yeah, pretty hype cover. Since Super Castlevania 4 was like a big deal when that launched on the Super Nintendo, I'm glad that the Nintendo Power went all out in advertising it and making it look pretty cool. That doesn't work for me, brother, at all. So yeah, I get how it's really hard to take a photo like in the middle of the ring and like make it look dynamic and like stuff is happening, so it might just look like an awkward photo. But for some reason, he's dropping the big leg onto good old John Tenta while holding something. I think it's supposed to be a Super Nintendo controller, but I'm not 100% sure. There's a CD-ROM tech update. I guess that might have been the CD-ROM update to the Super Nintendo that they were working on with Sony. So, oops, that hasn't aged very well. And, you know, just advertising Super WrestleMania on the Super Nintendo is just not a good look because all those early LJN games were not that great. Raw was okay. Raw was the best one that they had. But at least they tried to actually make it look exciting. You know, this is around the mid to early new generation era, so WWF not exactly at the height of their powers, but in fact, I don't even think it was at all. Like, this is like an older photo or like an older matchup that you'd see back then, I think. Super WrestleMania on the Super Nintendo, maybe 1993, maybe? I'm not sure on that. Maybe 92. Anyway, I think there's worse and more awkward wrestling themed covers. I'm sure we'll get to one soon, but this is not bad, but yeah, I don't know. I'm sure in the middle of this action that Hulk Hogan was doing, he's probably lying about something. Yeah, probably. Oh shit, this gave me nightmares, this cover. I think a friend of mine at the time, he was this dude that had like this huge mansion and stuff, and he invited me over and a couple other people for like a birthday party, and they were playing Mortal Kombat 2, and he had this magazine. I was like, whoa shit. And reading about Killer Instinct for the first time also got me super hyped. I would say like this is probably from that commercial for the game. It looks like it's from the same production. I like how they decided, hey, let's just have the big goofy dragon from Mortal Kombat Annihilation movie that would come out like several years in the future. Let's just get this really goofy bad render of a dragon. We don't really want to do the body, so let's just have some fire behind Scorpion. Anyway, Mortal Kombat 2 is unedited, uncut, and unbelievable. Unbelievable, you say. Yeah, I'm sure there were some edits. It was mostly uncut, I would have to say, so it's not lying about that. But it's still like a pretty striking image overall. And like, this is the spookiest Scorpions ever looked. I can tell you that for free as well. And this was volume 64, so that's nice. That's a nice number to go on. It'd be a couple more years before the N64 would show up, and I think we're going to be getting to that one soon. But still, one of the better Mortal Kombat covers overall. I just bring this one here because it's hype as hell. Look how sick this is. And I think this is just a made-up illustration. Is this an official Mega Man X2 piece of artwork? Because it's too formatted for a magazine. So my thought here is that they just really got a good look at the official art from the instruction manual or Capcom themselves, and they drew like a whole ass new cover. And it's super sick. Like, he's in the full armor, got Wheel Gator there doing his Wheel Gator things. Hype ass background. That we've definitely stepped up our logo game here. Now it's more of like a rendered logo, looks sick. The only thing with it is that the information we can see now we're getting into like okay, it's all over the spot. Cool, classic, balanced, enhanced, can't really read that. Exclusive Super Punch-Out over here. You don't need the box art. That's kind of getting like the exclusives kind of going over that. Contest, be an extra on Sequest. Yes, yo, let's go. Donkey Kong Land, you know, they're kind of throwing the information all over the spot. Now, I get it. It's like we got to show Wheelgator here. We can have the information over them. But I think if you made it a bit smaller, you could have fit most of it there. And you don't really need Mega Man X2. You can clearly see what it is. You don't need this giant thing taking up space here either. But as the illustrations would get better, I kind of feel like parsing out all this stuff got a lot messier too. Case in point, here's NBA Jam Tournament Edition. In-depth, Speedy Gonzalez, Metal Warriors, Hagane, new epic game, Epic Center, the adventures begin. What the hell does that mean? What is this? The NP94 Awards, I think this says vote here. And CS report Star Fox 2 on the Virtual Boy, or does it mean just Star Fox 2 and then the Virtual Boy? We'll get to the Virtual Boy. Why they went for NBA Jam to do the weird mascot characters is a little odd to me. So we have the Hornets, I think, or the Bumblebees. I forget what the team is. I don't think they exist anymore. Do the Hornets exist anymore? I don't remember. And the Bulls, and I get that you want the Bulls on there, but it makes you kind of, if you weren't familiar with NBA Jam at the time, you'd be like, what the fuck is this game? It's just like Animal Farm, the basketball game? What's going on there? And it's also getting messy with another logo for NBA Jam down here when you already have this logo. So while the illustration's like kind of funky and weird, it does have some interesting perspective going on. Nothing looks too bad off the bat, but it's just a weird artistic choice overall. But I would have done something, made them more, I don't know, human, and maybe done like an actual slam dunk with fire on it. That would have been a bit more exciting to me, but I wasn't the editor-in-chief of Nintendo Power back then. So I had this issue as a kid, and I was always like, something looks wrong here. Did they squish Cyrax? What did they do to poor Mustard? This is a weird-ass MK3 logo that they rendered in MS Paint. That's kind of strange. Okay, yeah. Hot Contest, win the WWF arcade game. In-depth, Spider-Man and Venom, Separation Anxiety, Secret of Evermore, Game Boy, Killer Instinct. Like, again, they're throwing information all over the spot. You don't know where your eye is supposed to go. It's definitely messy. And I do like how they're going back. It's an homage to the earlier covers where they have an actual background sprite art. And here we have, it looks like maybe Cabal being in Cyrax's net. So at least that's a little, a connection to Cyrax here. But he's not facing him and looking the other way. But this art, I feel like they just did a hodgepodge where they looked at maybe his Versus screen art and tried to redraw it in bigger style, but a lot of the details are getting all real messy. It looks like really messy AI upscaled art. It would just do this glossy sheen over. It looks like shit. Yeah, it looks like shit. So I don't know, but whatever. I was hyped enough for Mortal Kombat back in the day. I was just like, I just got to have this issue. It's fine. I'll deal with it. That wasn't the only Mortal Kombat cover, though, because we have this fighting game blowout. Yeah, more like blow out your ass. I had this one. And because I was super hyped for Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 and then Mortal Kombat Trilogy. I'm less hyped for? These awful. Speaking of badly upscaled AI art, by Mortal Kombat Trilogy, which was what, 96? Could they not have gotten, decently blown up portrait art of the characters? Why does it look like that? No reason for it to look like that, and you have to increase our mortality rate. That's a lot. Here's a combat code over here, possibly. I don't know. Look, Street Fighter Alpha 2, it doesn't even get an image on there. It just gets Smoke, and don't get me wrong, I love Smoke, but you don't even get a little Ryu over here? That sucks. Anyway, and we have one tiny screenshot of KI Gold up there. I don't know why. You could have just had this explosive fighting game blow at your ass there, but yeah, there's a new comic for Star Wars Shadows of the Empire, which was hype, to be fair. I will say that this main image of Smoke looks good. It looks like it is official art, maybe blown up a little bit, but I don't think they needed this at all. I think this brings the cover down entirely. They could have just had the Mortal Kombat Trilogy logo right there. That would have been totally fine, better even. And it's getting a little messy in the background with the dragon logo, but that's neither here nor there. This is okay, and I think the information's at least in a way that your eye can follow. But I think it's a little better than the last one overall with Cyrax. Oh, get fucking in, bitches. Yo. This is another big issue that I had. I read this one fucking cover to cover, dude. You know it. You love this. So KI2 had a bunch, KI1 to a point, but KI2 had a bunch of like specific images of characters lined up. They'd either, if they're heroes like Kimu and Jago here, they'd just be kind of like, and you can see that they're rendered in the same place. This isn't two pieces of art that were thrown into a background. Like this was a specific image. So then you had one of like, I believe TJ Combo fighting Glacius. Then of course you would have Orchid washing the car. They never had that on cover of Nintendo Power. But this just really brought my eye in. I was like, oh shit, KI2, yo. They're really advertised. They're really pushing Shadows of the Empire. Ooh, Wayne Gretzky's 3D hockey. Like, fuck Wayne Gretzky, but I mean, his hockey game was hype. Wave Race 64, that's nice. Ooh, Marvel Superheroes. And Donkey Kong Country 3 to the end. Yeah, I bet. And also the best alities of Ultimate MK3. But anyway, it was all about KI Gold at this point. I did not own KI Gold until years later when I bought it from N64, but I would rent it all the time. And I definitely needed this because it had over 20 pages of insider moves for KI Gold, and I used that. I read that like late at night, so when I'd get to play my N64 again the next day, I would have it all memorized. Not really though. Anyway, one of the most memorable covers to me in my Nintendo Power buying history is this one right here. But zooming out a little bit, you can see it's again a bit on the information overload sort of era that I don't think they really got out from. I am Turok, and I have 12-page arsenals and power previews. This is a piece of art I've never seen of Turok. I don't think it's official. The dinosaur is quite nice. Obviously, this never really happens in the game in this particular venue. I don't think you ever fight a T-Rex outside. You always fight him inside that closed arena. But it's a hype little piece of art. It's very clean. You can see everything fine. I mean, Turok doesn't look very cool. It looks really unsure, like, oh god. What if he eats me? Like, he looks a little hesitant, like he's not supposed to be there. Information is not too bad. It's kind of, again, in a way that your eye can follow, so that's nice. Dinosaurs displayed pretty clearly, and the information, the text, is kind of in spaces where it doesn't really block anything super duper important. It's a little barren, and you think about how exciting Turok is, that they could have maybe had something like even more explosive, maybe have Turok a bit closer over here, I don't know, something like that. But still one of the better covers of the N64 age, I think. You know what's not one of the better covers of the N64 age is this fucking thing. What's going on here? What is this? Why is he being polygonized? And what is this controller? Of course, Hogan gets a fucking fancy pants golden controller. Fuck you. Poor Sting, he doesn't deserve that. Poor Steve, you know? Anyway, WCW NP World exclusive. All right, this is hard to read. WCW vs NWO Nintendo Power World exclusive. Okay. Fighter's Destiny, no, that's nice. I like these fonts actually here. They're very clear. You can see them. They put a little bit of a background color there, so they pop a bit more. I see what they're going for. They're trying to meld like a real life photo of Hogan and Sting over here. and tried to make them look like they're morphing into the polygons of the game. I don't think it worked out. You really didn't need that. I don't know if you could have asked WCW to actually just have one simple photo of Hogan putting someone into a headlock, the most explosive move in the game. Maybe we could have done the leg drop again. Maybe we could have, I don't know, had Hogan throwing some flash paper into Warrior's face. We could have had that. Why not? I do like the color scheme though, like the purple back up here. It contrasts well against all the skin tones and stuff. So not the worst thing ever, but certainly one of the weirdest wrestling themed covers I've ever seen. All right, we're winding down a little bit. I've never seen this before. I don't even think this is from the Spider-Man game at all. So when that came out, that was a PlayStation exclusive for a while, but then they had the N64 version, I want to say a year later. Then after that, the Dreamcast, if memory serves. This doesn't even look like how that Spider-Man looks exactly. His proportions are just very filled out. It looks quite muscular, actually. Pretty simple, straightforward cover, but it's exciting. It's got Spider-Man right there. What's weird, let's just take a look down. It doesn't actually mention Spider-Man, right? Special subscriber bonus features, 16-page insert, Pokemon poster, of course, and static stickers. The GBC guides are Mega Man Extreme, Powerpuff Girls, though it's not actually saying what Spider-Man, like, Spider-Man launches on N64, spins a web on Nintendo's 64. Something like that, but no, it's just like, here's Spider-Man. Is the game out? Did it come out? What's it called? What's the title? What's the logo? Anything like that. Is it called Spider-Man 64? Let us know. They actually have too little information on here, but at least it's all stacked up in nice bullet points, so that's good at least. But it's a nice image, I have to say. I don't know where this white light from Spider-Man, I guess he's shooting a spider fart out there, and it's just shooting this giant web out. If you were an actual Spider-Man, that's where it would come out. I'm just talking science here. But you can win a Zora guitar, and, that has to count for something. Alrighty, we're almost done, but once I saw this, I was like, I've never seen this particular image of Star Fox 64 ever. I feel like maybe this I've seen before, but Falco doing a gangster lean, that's pretty cool, I guess. And Ivan Arwing up there, it's an exciting cover. A lot of color, I will say. There's a lot of bright hues there. And this is the shiniest Star Fox 64 logo you could have found, huh? They overdid it there. They shake, rumble, and roll. I get it, because of the rumble pack. 16 pages dedicated to Hexen on the N64. Sure, if you say so, dude. At least they got Dark Rift there. That's nice. It's a nice double feature with International Superstar Stalker 64 big kicks. But yeah, I think this is a hype little image of Star Fox 64. It's maybe them actually piloting the R-Wings, because you don't spend all that much time on the ground except for multiplayer. So that's kind of a choice, but and there's some weird things going on with the perspective here. But other than that, it's nice to always see Star Fox actually being advertised on an official Nintendo channel media thing, huh? Star Fox. Isn't that awesome? Speaking of trying to sell things, here's our final cover, and this always mystified me as a kid. I did have this issue, and it's just so fucking ugly, isn't it? Again, I get it. It's a 3D system. How are you actually going to sell that to the modern gamer? And just on the cover alone, we're going to show these two red and black images of Mario Clash, and that's it. Look, it looks like Kane's doing his entrance circa 1997. Everything's black and red. What's with the blue? I think this is supposed to be Telro Boxer. I can't tell. You can see they just took some weird effect and just just make it all swirly and squiggly. Doesn't matter. It's 3D. It's virtual. I don't know. I get that it was a hard assignment, Nintendo Power. I get it. My heart goes out to you. But I think something could did this make the Virtual Boy fail? No, it didn't help. It didn't help. I mean, just a black and red image of maybe a screenshot of Telltale Boxer, because that game looks really hype and the sprites in that look sick. Maybe showing more of an artistic rendering of how Mario Clash looked. I know it's like you can't really put color into it because that's not what the games were, and you don't want to, like, you know, advertise the fact that it doesn't really have color. Anyway, I hated this issue whenever I looked at it, like just the cover wise, just something so unappealing about everything here. Just this weird face. I don't know, like, you know, correct me if I'm wrong. If you feel differently, let me know. But this did not help Virtual Boy's case. I don't think anything could have, but this certainly didn't improve its image whatsoever. Anyway, that is it for Nintendo Power covers. Let me know if there's any that I missed in the comments, and if you'd like me to do another video sort of like this in the future, I'd certainly be down for it. I love looking at all the Soul Magazine stuff, so let me know what I can do in the future. And until then, Nintendo Maniacs, I will see you in the Flophouse.